In a land where the sun burns with the memory of generations, where the dust tells stories and trees remember names, there lived a boy named Obina. Not just any boy, a student, a thinker, a son of the soil who now walked streets of tar and light. He had left the red earth of Umuwaka many years ago to seek knowledge in the great city of Lagos, where buildings reached for the sky and dreams were stitched into the fabric of every hustler's heart. Obina was sharp, too sharp. A top student, a rising voice among his peers, a boy who had learned to speak English like water and walk with his chest high. But in his pursuit of the future, something had grown silent within him. The old stories, the sacred names, the voice of the land, they had become whispers in the back of his mind. The stories his grandmother once told by the firelight were now just that, stories, not truths. Now December has arrived. To some, December is a season of rest, but to the African child, December is returning. It is the heartbeat of reunion. The sacred time when the living come home, not just to family but to spirits, to memory, to tradition. Obina was excited. His exams were over. He had passed them all and passed them well. He folded his clothes with care. He polished his shoes until they shone like mirrors. He held up a cologne bottle and sprayed the air twice, walking through it with a satisfied smile. "I go land for a village like a king," he murmured. He pictured it vividly. Walking down the village road with music in his ears and confidence in his step. Girls smiling shyly. Elders whispered, "That's Mama Naka's boy." Boys running after him, hungry for stories of city life. He would speak in English. He would show them how to use a smartphone. He would tell them about skyscrapers, fast internet, big dreams. He was ready. Or so he believed. That evening his friend Chuka stopped by. "You day travel tomorrow, Abi?" "Yes, nah," Obina replied. "First light. I don't want to miss any of the village vibes. Make sure you get sense, oh." Chuka laughed. Village no be Instagram. December fit carry two faces. "A beg," Obina chuckled. "I get pepper spray, I get a power bank. Nothing day happen." But even as they laughed, the wind paused at the window. Something watched from beyond the veil. Later that night, Obina called his grandmother, Mama Naka. Her voice came through the phone, slow and rich like honey from a gourd. "My son," she said, "before you leave that city, go to the elder tree. Pour water for the ancestors, speak their names, ask for their eyes to follow you on the road." Obina smiled politely. "Yes, Mama. I'll do it. Maybe when I reach." "No," she said. "You must ask them now. You are not traveling alone. No one ever does." He nodded, but the words rolled off him like rain on plastic. He had grown beyond all that. He had Google Maps now, mobile data. Who needed tree spirits? As he hung up, he scrolled through social media. He posted a picture of his packed bag, captioned, "Village loading, IJGB, vibes only." Then he lay down. In the silence of that night, the wind did not move. The crickets did not sing. Even the buzzing of the city seemed to hold its breath. Obina slept peacefully, proud and prepared, but he had not packed respect. He had not packed remembrance. He had forgotten the ritual. And so, something ancient stood at the threshold of his room. It did not knock, it did not cry, it simply waited. For the child who steps onto the road without honoring the land is not walking alone, not in December, not in the danger zone. When the sun rose the next morning, it did not smile. It stretched lazily across the sky as if reluctant to bless the day ahead. In the city, the honking of impatient drivers and the chatter of morning markets masked a truth only the wise could hear. A silence deeper than silence, a warning between the wind and the dust. Obina, freshly bathed and cologned, rolled his travel bag out the front door of his hostel. He wore a fine shirt, white and crisp like church Sunday, with shades that mirrored the sky. His sneakers gleamed with pride. As he waited by the road for his bus to the village, he checked his phone. Likes, comments, shares. His post was blowing up. Big man things. See who doesn't go abroad inside the village. Safe journey, City King, he chuckled. He was the center of attention, even before arriving. But far away in the quiet village of Umuaka, his grandmother, Mama Neka, had not slept well. All night she tossed and turned in her bamboo bed. Her dreams had been heavy. She saw footsteps, with no shadows, and rivers flowing backward. She heard the whisper of drums that hadn't been played in generations. She rose before the birds and stepped outside. The air was heavy. The leaves did not dance. She stood before the elder tree, an ancient baobab that had watched over her people for over 200 years. Her voice, though old, was steady. Spirits of our land, I greet you. Your child has forgotten, but I have not. She poured water slowly onto the earth, whispering names of the dead, names Obina had never learned, never asked. Ochuko, Ijoma, Namdi, Adaizi, Obioma. Watch him. Forgive his ignorance. Then she turned to the wind. Protect him. Even though he walks with pride, he has forgotten the ritual, but he is still ours. And the tree whispered back, not with words, but with presence. Back in the city, Obina's bus finally arrived. He entered, earbuds in, the latest Afro-beat playlist thumping through his soul. The bus rolled forward, out of the city, past the suburbs, beyond the places of concrete, into the arms of red earth and palm trees. He didn't notice when the sky shifted. He didn't feel when the wind changed. The driver, a man with tired eyes and a charcoal voice, turned and muttered something in Igbo as they passed a thick patch of forest. Obina, lost in music, didn't hear, but the old woman sitting beside him did. Her eyes widened. She clutched her wrapper and began to pray under her breath. Blood will not flow, she whispered. Not on this road. Not today. Obina looked over, half amused. Mama, everything okay? She did not answer. She simply stared at him. You carry blessings? She asked softly. Obina removed one earbud. Sorry? You greet the land before entering? He frowned. I called my grandma. She said something like, that, but I'll do it when I reach. The woman shook her head slowly. No, it's already late. Her voice was not angry. It was filled with pity. Obina rolled his eyes and leaned back. Superstitions, he thought. All these old people with their ghost stories and village fears. This was 2025. But just then, the bus hit something, hard. Everyone jerked forward. The driver cursed. The engine sputtered and died. A sudden silence swallowed them whole. No birds, no crickets. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The driver stepped out to check. After a moment, he came back inside, sweating. There's nothing on the road, he said. But something hit us. Obina stood to look out the window. That's when he saw them. Footprints, fresh, wet footprints, across dry, red earth, leading from the road into the forest. Nobody, no shoes, just prints, and worse, no one else saw them. He blinked, shook his head, looked again. Still there, still walking, slowly, into the trees. His chest tightened. He sat back down, slowly. For the first time, fear crept in. A fear that was not loud. It was quiet, ancient. The kind that comes from knowing deep in your spirit that you have trespassed unknowingly. He remembered his grandmother's voice. You are not traveling alone. No one ever does. The bus restarted. The passengers clapped lightly. But the mood had changed. Something unseen now rode with them. Obina turned off his music. The silence was louder. He sat still, sweat beading on his brow, and whispered a shaky prayer. Not one he had learned in school or seen online, but one his grandmother once made him repeat by firelight long ago. Let the land know I have come with peace. Let the spirits know I remember. Too late. Or maybe just in time. The road continued, but the traveler had changed. The bus rolled on, wheels slicing through the red dust like a whisper through old secrets. Obina sat stiff, no longer the confident student he had been that morning. His phone lay silent in his lap. He hadn't touched it since the footprints, the laughter, the likes, the attention. All of it now felt distant, childish, as though he had left a younger version of himself. On the side of the road, right where the prints began, the woman beside him, silent now, gripped her rosary tighter. She stared out the window, but her eyes didn't see the trees. They saw beyond. And then the chanting began. It was faint at first, a rhythm beneath the hum of the engine. Soft, distant, like it came from beneath the soil. O bunwa anyi, chota uzo azu, noa amachagi. Obina looked up. Did you hear that? He whispered. No one answered, but others felt it. You could see it in their shoulders, how they sat up straighter, in the way they stopped scrolling their phones. Some crossed themselves. One man began humming a gospel tune under his breath. The forest had grown thick now. Trees on either side formed a tunnel of green and darkness. The sky above was hidden. Suddenly the bus engine sputtered again, a hard jolt. The driver shouted, "Hiya! Not again, oh!" They coasted to a stop. The forest seemed to close in tighter. This time no one moved. The driver opened the door to step out, but was met with a strong gust of wind that slammed it shut. Everyone jumped. Then, from the front of the bus, a small boy stood. He couldn't have been more than 6. Dressed in simple shorts, barefoot. No one had noticed him before. He turned slowly and looked straight at Obina and spoke. You didn't greet the land. His voice was hollow, too calm for a child. Obina blinked. Wait, what? He whispered. The child said nothing more. He walked down the aisle of the bus, slow, deliberate steps. Passengers parted without thinking, drawn by something older than fear. The child walked to the door. It opened by itself, and just like that, he stepped off the bus and vanished. Gone. The murmurs began. Where did he come from? Who brought that child? Did you see him before? The driver sat frozen. Sweat poured down his face. There was no child when we started. The old woman beside Obina nodded, whispering, "The messengers are here." Then it began to rain, not like normal rain. The droplets were cold and slow, almost syrupy. They hit the windows like tapping fingers, but when Obina looked outside, the ground was dry, and the raindrops fell upward. He gasped. Someone began to cry softly in the back. Then the chanting returned. Louder now, voices from everywhere yet nowhere. Obundi anyi, ka anyi cheta. Obina felt his heart race. He couldn't breathe. He felt heat rise up his spine, a tightening in his chest. Suddenly the bus interior changed, not physically, but spiritually. The air shifted, the colors dulled, and in the corner of his eye, he saw them. Figures, not quite human, not quite spirit, draped in ancient cloth, painted faces, bare feet, eyes like charcoal fire. They stood in the aisles, between the seats, watching, judging. Obina's mouth opened to scream, but no sound came. One of the spirits stepped forward. A tall figure, face hidden behind a carved wooden mask. He raised a hand slowly and placed it on Obina's shoulder. At that moment, Obina was no longer on the bus. He was on a vast plain of ash and smoke. The sky was orange. Trees were blackened silhouettes. In front of him stood a gathering of elders, spirits cloaked in ancestral robes, faces painted in red, white, and black. "You are Obina," one said, "son of the soil." "But you forgot us," another said. "You walked on our land with proud feet and empty hands." Obina fell to his knees. "I didn't know. I didn't mean you were told," a voice thundered. It was his grandmother's voice, but it came from one of the spirits. "The land listens before it welcomes. You did not speak to it." I was excited. I was just trying to go home. "You cannot enter a sacred place with a shallow spirit." A pause, then the tallest spirit stepped forward. "But you can still remember." He handed Obina a small calabash filled with dark water. "Drink," he said. Obina hesitated. "Drink and return," they said in unison. He drank. Darkness. Suddenly, he was back, on the bus, gasping, wet with sweat. The old woman beside him held his hand. "You went to them," she said. Obina looked at her, trembling. I saw them," she nodded. "They see you too." Outside, the rain had stopped. The forest looked normal again. The bus started with a sputter. Passengers sat in stunned silence. Obina didn't speak. He simply reached into his bag, pulled out a small bottle of palm oil and a piece of white cloth. He had packed them by accident. Or maybe not by accident. He tied the cloth around his wrist and whispered, "I greet you, spirits of my land. I come in peace. I come in remembrance." The bus drove on, and for the first time since they left the city, nothing blocked their path. The sun dipped low as the bus emerged from the dense forest. The air grew warmer, the skies cleared, and the road widened into familiar paths of red soil and dry fields. Palm trees stood like sentinels watching the returning children of the land. Obina felt different. No longer just a student going home for December, he now carried a weight, an awareness. The spirits had seen him. And in that meeting, they had marked him. He was no longer just going home. He was being summoned. The bus finally slowed at the junction that led to his village, Amodu, a small cluster of clay houses and corrugated roofs, where every footstep echoes memory. He stepped down from the bus, his feet touching the dust like he had never truly felt it before. There was no one to welcome him. Not yet. It was late evening. The village square was quiet. Goats wandered lazily. Smoke rose from distant fires and the wind whispered old names. He began the walk toward his grandmother's house. Each step stirred old memories, running to the stream as a child, singing songs with cousins under the moon, sitting beside Mama Neka while she cracked groundnuts and told tales of things beyond the veil. He passed the ancient udala tree. He remembered what his grandmother used to say. "If the udala fruit falls before you greet it, don't eat. That fruit belongs to the spirits." A single udala fruit rolled across the path. He did not touch it. When he arrived at her compound, the gate creaked open by itself. Inside, the clay walls stood as strong as ever. The compound smelled of herbs and smoke, of ancestry. A single oil lamp burned on the veranda. Mama Neka sat on her mat, as though she had been waiting since dawn. "I felt you coming," she said without looking up. Obina knelt quickly. "Mama." She raised a hand, stopping him. "You went through the forest without greeting the earth, without pouring water, without asking the road to carry you in peace. I didn't forget on purpose. I was excited, distracted. And yet the land still had mercy on you," she said, looking at him now. "Others are not so lucky." Obina's voice cracked. "I saw them, the spirits. They spoke to me." Her eyes softened. "Then you were chosen. Chosen to remember what others forget." She stood slowly, her bones creaking like bamboo in the wind. "You will pour libation tonight." Obina hesitated. "I thought you would pour it. You're the elder. This time you must speak to them." She handed him a calabash. It was old, carved with markings that glowed faintly in the moonlight. She poured water into it, a few drops of palm oil, then added 3 kola nuts. "Speak from your heart," she said. "The ancestors do not care for perfect words. They care for truth." He stepped out into the center of the compound. The earth was cool beneath his bare feet. The moon hung above like a silver guardian. He knelt, trembled, raised the calabash, and spoke. "Spirits of my fathers and mothers, I return to this land with dust on my feet and pride on my neck. I did not greet the road. I did not pour for the earth. I walked like a stranger in the land of my birth, but I come now with heart open. I pour this for the ones before me. I pour this for peace on my path. I pour this for forgiveness. Receive me. Guide me. Let me walk right again." He poured the calabash slowly onto the ground. The earth sizzled, not with fire, but with energy. The dust drank the offering like thirsty lips. A soft breeze circled him. The lamp on the veranda flickered, then burned brighter. Mama Neka smiled. "They heard you." Later that night, Obina sat beside the fire. He held the white cloth he had tied earlier. It was soaked with sweat, dust, and spirit. "I used to think this was just tradition," he said. "Just old people things." Mama Neka chuckled. "And now? Now I know. The road has ears. The soil has eyes. The forest remembers every foot that enters it." She nodded. "That is the beginning of wisdom." He looked at her. "What happens now?" She took his hand. "Now, you teach others. Because most students forget. They think December is only for parties and village return. They forget that to return without honor is to walk blind through sacred land." Obina looked into the fire. "I won't forget again." From outside the compound, an owl called. A peaceful sound. He closed his eyes. For the first time in days, he felt safe. When the ancestors call, it is not always with thunder or dreams. Sometimes it is with silence, with memory, with a whisper in your bones that refuses to fade, and that is what Obina carried now. Days had passed since the offering. The air in Amodu was different, softer. The spirits were at peace, and so was he. But with peace came duty. It was the week before New Year's. Students, travelers, and villagers from all corners were returning home in droves. There was laughter in the streets, dancing in the compounds, and reckless celebration under every tree. They had not seen what Obina had seen. They had not passed through the forest, or if they had, they passed through it asleep. Obina walked through the village square where music blasted from speakers tied to palm trunks. Boys in tight jeans joked loudly. Girls with braided hair and bright dresses posted selfies under the mango tree. And not one of them had poured libation. Not one had greeted the earth. He saw a young man he knew, Chuka, arrive with loud excitement, jumping off a motorcycle with a crate of drinks in hand. "Obina," Chuka shouted. "You look serious, man. It's December. Loosen up." Obina forced a smile. "You came through the forest?" "Yes-o. Passed through eBay Junction. Road clear like glass." "You pour water for the land?" Chuka raised an eyebrow. "Water? My brother, I poured fuel into the car tank. That's what matters." Obina's smile faded. He stepped closer, voice low. "That road, you think it was clear because of luck?" Chuka chuckled. "I beg, don't start with all this juju talk. I'm here to flex, not chant incantations." But before Obina could reply, a cry pierced the square. An elderly woman had collapsed near. The market. Her hands trembled, eyes rolled back. Bystanders rushed to help but stopped midway, uncertain. She muttered in Igbo, "You walk on bones. You walk on bones." Chuka turned pale. "That's my grandmother." Obina stepped forward and knelt beside her. He reached into his pouch and pulled out the remaining kola nut from his offering. He pressed it gently into her hand. The woman's shaking slowed. She opened her eyes, and she stared directly at Obina. "You remember. You see. Speak." She sat up slowly, aided by her grandson. Obina stood, now facing the confused crowd. "My people," he said, voice steady. "This land is not just dust. It is memory. It is breath. We cannot walk across it like strangers, or it will rise against us." Someone shouted, "But we are modern now. We don't need all that." Obina raised the white cloth tied around his wrist. This saved me in the forest. When the spirits called, it was not my degree that answered. It was respect. It was remembrance." A hush spread. From behind the crowd, Mama Neka stepped forward, her staff tapping against the ground. Every December, children return with foreign ways, with fast music, fast clothes, fast tongues, and every December more are lost. Some in accidents, some to sickness, some to things we cannot name. She looked around slowly. The soil remembers the ones who forget it. Obina nodded. "We must return, properly. Before the celebration, before the selfie, we must pour, we must greet." From that day forward, the elders of Amodu declared a homecoming day, the first day of every December break. All returnees, especially students, would gather in the square to pour water and wine on the earth, to greet the road, to call the names of the ancestors. Obina led the first libation, and this time Chuka poured with him. Not every danger screams. Some dangers whisper patiently through generations, and if you forget to listen, you will not see them coming. So, students, before you rush home this December, before you party or post or parade through your village, pour first, greet first, because the road is alive, the land watches, and the ancestors, they remember everything